Shalom is real. All praises, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, for allowing me to do another lesson. Yahweh is who the world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is his son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, and is no God beside them. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone for being faithful witnesses to the Holy Spirit. And salutations to the elect whom the Lord have given ears to hear. So I wanted to harp on a few things I've been seeing in the news regarding biometrics update, Palantir, things concerning ICE, and really just immigrants in general. Recently, they just had a UN assembly where the nations came to the U.S. and Trump was pretty much tearing them a new asshole in regards to accepting immigrants. Right, but pretty much this all leads to the furthering of the image of the beast, which is this system, this harsh system that these devils want to push anyway. All right. So let's go here. Palantir ICE and a quiet expansion of a biometric dragnet. Let's look up that word dragnet. And I'll speak close to the phone because, for privacy purposes. So a dragnet is a net drawn through a river or across ground to trap fish or game. Right? So this biometrics is literally a snare these devils are setting. All right? And notice the thing with immigrants is even though we know it's a wide, broad term, when you think of immigrants, you think of so-called blacks and Hispanics, so-called Africans, so-called Haitians, so-called Central and South Americans. So it said they've built a system that normalizes the surveillance of immigrants and by extension, anyone connected to them. The collection and analysis, and that's all scriptural. Remember, we are in a time of prophecy, and like it says in 2 Ezra 16, still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. So here we are. The collection and analysis of personal data have long been central to the operations of U.S. immigration and customs enforcement. But newly surfaced Department of Homeland Security documents, including emails, training materials, policy directives, and quarterly reports, reveal just how vast and invasive that architecture has become. The documents show how ICE's surveillance powers have steadily expanded through contracts with private technology vendors and gaps in federal oversight, and how civil data streams such as visa records and telecommunications information are repeatedly reclassified as investigatory material. It says ICE surveillance platforms operate not as simple case management tools, but rather as engines of biometric aggregation, connecting student visa monitoring, GPS tracking, travel histories, and multi-database bulk search functions into a system capable of mapping entire populations in ways few Americans realize. This blend of civil and criminal authority erodes statutory boundaries meant to protect non-criminal immigrants from intrusive surveillance, creating a regime from technological capacity rather than legal limits, defines what the government can do. The documents were obtained by Just Futures laws through the Freedom of Information Act. At the heart of these materials lies Palantir's suite of investigative platforms, particularly Falcon and investigative case management systems that fuse government and commercial databases into a biometric-driven dragnet. Okay, and yeah, this devil. It tells us what? Let's go to Revelation 13 and 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Right, so this is talking about America, all right, which is pretty much spawned through Rome. That's why we see as he spake as a dragon, we know that the dragon, when you go into Revelation 12, represents the Roman Empire. Now, also to note, that word dragon goes into dracon. And when you just do a simple Google search, it says the dracon refers to an ancient Greek word for a large serpent or dragon, a concept found in Greek mythology, and the name of the Athenian legislator Draco, whose name is the root of the English word draconian. Now, to note, the Greeks were also Edomites. The Greeks pretty much paved the society for Rome. All right. The Greeks did, or the Romans did what the Greeks did, basically. All right. When the Greeks came on the earth, all right, under Esau Edom, evils increased. All right. And so forth, so on and so forth with Rome and America. All right. Evils, deaths, killings, debauchery of all sorts. So it says, Draco, whose name is the root of the English word draconian. Draco is a name derived from the Greek root appearing in a modern electric hyperluxury SUV. The Draco Dragon, which features dramatic gold-winged doors and powerful. Okay, that's almost Slovakia. So it says dracon, a general term for a giant serpent or dragon in Greek myth, often depicted as a guardian of treasures or sacred sites. The word dracon is the Greek origin of the word dragon and is related to an ancient word for seeing or sharp sight. So now let's go into that word draconian. Draconian of laws or their application, excessively harsh and severe. Strict, in other words. All right, and that's what's coming down the pipe. You know, you had these devils, which it's a lot coming out these days, a whole lot. I got another article, as you see here. It says Homeland Security releases Pokemon-themed video to highlight immigration arrests. Gotta catch 'em all. This is fair use.
In California, a ban on face coverings. Here's the governor. ICE, unmask. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? You're going to go out and you're going to do enforcement?
Right, it says the clip. Let me see if I can find it. Bear with me. Yeah, these devils treat you like the animals that you act like today. Because you so-called Hispanics act like animals. Just as well as all you Israelites today. Peradventure, you are of the elect, of course. With the Holy Spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. But you act like fucking animals. You know? Like the scriptures say in Hosea, the 4th chapter. Because of lying, stealing, and killing, they break out and blood touches blood. You know? A lot of you are involved in nefarious wickedness. And even if you're so-called outside of that, you know, or you're so-called good dude, you know, you go to work, take care of your family, odds are you find nothing wrong with momo behavior. You find nothing wrong with eating wicked, abominable foods, with adultery. So a lot of our people are as beasts today, and that's how they're being treated. All right, and again, as we went into in Revelation 13, how these laws are draconian. All right, and it's the time where this devil is being revealed. You see him doing what he's doing. It shows you who he is. He is the serpent. All right, it's not. When you read Revelation, the 20th chapter, this man is known as the dragon, the serpent, that old devil. It's clear to see who we're talking about now. And we see it all the time. Brothers on the line, you know, when Northern come by, you know, they talk shit. You know, they talking shit in Spanish. You know, they see the picture of Cedro Bozier on the ground. They just shake their heads, right? And like the scriptures say, they that hate me love death. So these people are finding it. Hey, that's Psalms, you know, this reminds me of Psalm 73. You know, because on the other hand, these devils are tearing you away from your family, which is a part of the curses, but they feel no way about it. Right? Psalm 73 and 8. They said that they are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. All right. So that word wickedly meaning disagreeable or malignant, but in effect of that video is more like a like you making sport of the fact that you're destroying, you know, people in their family. Right? And I mentioned how these are the curses because the scriptures speak on how if I'll be able to find it, Lord's willing, the scriptures actually speak on how you would get ripped away from your children. Right. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 29. Thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore. So they thought shit was sweet coming over here, building on, construction, speaking down on your brother, so-called black, the so-called black man. But now look who's on the bottom. Because they really do feel like they better than their brother, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Right? But we're all oppressed. And we're here on the same playing field at the bottom. Because best believe why ICE is getting you so-called Hispanics, there's still cop shootings of unarmed black men. Hell, there's now hangings being done in various college universities against the so-called black men. So it says, right, thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. That's another thing that's happening now in these detention centers, which they're not saying, but a lot of the northern women are getting sexually harassed. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. And a lot of our people, especially you so-called Hispanics, you come over here, and that's what you do. You do construction, or you do laborious farm work. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and thou shalt not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thy enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail. And that's another thing that's happening over here in America. There's a lot of trafficking going on, especially of you so-called Hispanics. And it says, and thy eyes shall look and fill with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. All right? And there's even less might now that ICE is moving off of solely off of what the biometric tells them to do. Because I got another one real quick.
Imagine immigration officers sweeping through neighborhoods, guided by artificial intelligence telling them who to arrest and what houses to knock on, and a computer algorithm telling the immigration officer which people to put on a deportation flight home and which people to arrest, sit in jail, and see an immigration judge for deportation. And no, this is not a movie. This is real. It's called Immigration OS, and it's starting this week. This AI system puts together Social Security records, IRS records, DMV records, license.
And you see the implementation of the image has to be pushed before the implementation of the mark. All right, because the image is this system being set up. The draconian laws, the biometric enforced lifestyle, if you will. And then that's pretty much going to segue to the chip, because remember the chip, when you go into that word chip in Revelation 13 and 16, we always go into it. The very origin of the word goes into grapho, the word grapho meaning writings. And as he just mentioned, all of your writings will be documented. We got to know who's who. And I also seen something today to where a lot of these UN nations, they're also pushing for to be able to biometrically document these immigrants, because there's a mass influx in a lot of these other nations over there in France, Greece. Esau done effed up the world. So now these nations are seeking asylum, and these UN nations. Salakia, let me see if I can find it. All right, Salakia. It took me some time, but I was able to find it. Now, so why did Yahweh Shem Yahushai too? It was a term that I had read in an article earlier. We read so much and we looking at so much that it's hard to keep track. But so I looked up the term EES, right, which is entitled, or it means entry-exit system, is an automated IT system being implemented by the European Union to register non-EU nationals traveling to the Schengen area. The EES will digitally record travel, replacing the current practice of manually stamping passports. Its primary goals are to modernize border management, improve security, and prevent irregular migration, specifically by detecting travelers who overstay their allowed time in the Schengen area. The EES is inextricably linked to biometric security because it is designed to collect and store biometric data from travelers. When a non-EU national crosses an external Schengen border for a short stay, the EES will register and store facial image, fingerprints, travel document data, right, and entry and exit data. All right. So again, this all goes into the writings, the grapho that's going to be inside of that RFID chip. All right. It's a form of gradualism. All right. It says on subsequent visits, the traveler's identity can be quickly verified by matching their facial image or fingerprints to the data already stored in the system. This not only makes border checks faster, but also provides a more accurate and reliable way to confirm a person's identity and travel history. And we know this double always works in problem, reaction, solution. So best believe there will be more attacks, more violent behaviors from these migrants, so they can increase, their surveillance. They can move forward with their plans. All right, to ultimately chip you. All right, that's the best way to understand who's who, because you can't fake, your internal. Pretty much, you can't fake your internal blueprint, if that's a good word for it. Right? There's various ways you can get around, this biometric stuff. There's all types of, fingerprint things that you can put on your fingers, various things you can put on your eyes, to allow you to get around that. But you can't get around something being inside of you. That's the surest form of security. All right, so let me finish it off here. Right, that's Psalms 140. And 1. To the chief musician, a psalm of David. Deliver me, O Yahweh, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent men. Right? Because nobody's safe under this new society. No one. All right? I don't know if brothers caught it, but in that TikTok video, he was even saying how even a lot of times ChatGPT be wrong. So if you're relying on that for accuracy and reliability, to really, really weed out the good from the bad, to them everybody's bad. Which imagine mischiefs in their heart continually are they gathered together for war. All right, and it's not going to be used, to stop fraud, to to help the people is what I'm trying to get at. It's going to be used to further, like they said, to catch them all. All you so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you're in trouble. Jacob's trouble. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adders, they have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. All right? And I bring this out again because that word dracon goes into what? A serpent. Adders, poison is under their lips. All right? So this devil is trying out his blessing by cutting down you jakes. He's showing that his blessings is perfected. That you jakes is a target practice. It says, keep me, O Yahweh, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent men who have purpose to overthrow my goings. The proud have hid a snare for me, and cords that have spread a net by the wayside. They have set gins for me. And that's pretty much what we read about. Let's go to it. Right. What was that? This thing is nothing more than a trap that's being set. If I'm not mistaken, it says something like that. Let me see. Oh, well. Okay, so they use Dragnet, right? But it raises concerns over Dragnet searches. They call it a biometric dragnet. So as we read, a dragnet is in other words, it's a trap, a net drawn through a river or across ground to trap fish or game. Here we know that this man is a cunning hunter, right? So the trap is bad behavior, Terry-like behavior, whether it be to a community, to a business or whatever. And now this is the consequence, the answer to the problems. So it says, they have set gins for me. I said unto Yahweh, thou art my God. Hear the voice of my supplication, O Yahweh. All right, and that's what we ought to pray. That when the Lord allows this devil to come down, that we not be caught up in that circumstance. And if it be the case, that he give us the strength to get out of it. Because some will receive spiritual powers. Hey, brother's been having dreams. Brother's been doing, the Spirit had me do a lesson, but not even me, not bigging up myself. You had various brothers been going into that, man. All right, remember the scriptures say there's no temptation taking us, but it's common to man, but the Lord is faithful and will make a way to escape. Right? Let's go into the word innocent. We'll finish it off there. Exodus 23:7, keep thee far from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay thou not, for I will not justify the wicked. And this shows you that this devil is going down. All right. And just as because he's going to slay some of the innocent, it's written too. Some shall be beheaded for the witness of Yahweh Shai, for speaking his word. All right. Looking as the issue. Right. But we know, like in the time of Cain and Abel, that the Lord still vindicated. So I'll leave it at that. Shalom to the elect.